I closed my so
Let's just see. Yeah. Hey, have a morning rave as well. We'll have them in the morning. Start selling tickets.
I can't even remember.
And we'll keep on.
On the Saturday. You're like, screw them is right.
Yeah, I text the same thing to him. Take it well.
Oh, yeah. We're always in the list.
I know. That's why we come so early as well.
Fantastic. So what? Realistically,
Yeah. Text me. I do want to see quite the last day. I just get a job dog.
I would say if you right click them into content option and range, then you bring them to the front. Oh, yeah, but just do that. Bring the front. Still not perfect, and I don't know exactly what I'm doing.
there's a station separate.
No, they're all together, they're meant to be together. It's more.
Eastern Europe.
No, I should try to click on how it looks. Like the actual design. Hexagons look a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
And also me, you do trick sex.
Yeah, I don't have to do sex at the moment, unfortunately.
I just wasn't sure.
No. Once you go hexagons, that's what
Maybe not. Or make
I'll be your rich man. I feel like it's making noise.
So same reminder as always, this is being required to do, so we project with the microphones so everybody else in the room can hear. And I'm going to pass over to Richard from the
Sure. It will be more a conversation, I'm hoping. I'm Richard Parsons from the Library and Learning Centre, where I'm the director. And we'll come along today. There's two of us, but Chris has got another appointment at 6, so she'll be here in a few moments. We're effectively, as you know, we're refurbishing the mid-floor of the library, so we're keen for feedback on that. You might have one or two comments about that. And there's an issue about the card access for the library as well that we'd like to explore with you. But just before we get to those two items, let me run through a few things about sort of updates from library activities across the campus. One of them is, you may be aware of an initiative on more books. Now we hold this regularly, but it's about effectively the feedback we got on the mid-floor is people would like more physical books. To some extent it's more e-books as well, but that's two go hand in hand as far as we're concerned. But just particularly for the school presidents here, bear in mind, encourage your school to effectively get students, and particularly students, but if necessary staff as well, to make submissions into the more books, and there are more resources that we can purchase. We are very much guided by good course books that you think we should hold that we may not hold. We do actually have funds provided, so let us know about that and encourage people to let us know. Academically, it's a good thing to do. You can get more resources for your subject if you make the effort of looking up good titles to hold in the library. Another aspect, again, a bit of feedback may be useful from you, but an aspect we're looking at is getting laptops on loan that have specialist software loaded on them. So there you might be thinking about specialist software that addresses like engineers. So I know the specialist software that they use. The same happens in architecture, potentially in geography and other areas. So again, for the school presidents, thinking about specialist software that you might need on laptops that would be loanable within the library. And it's particularly well into the evening that this might work well, because you might have school resources you can get to during the day into the early evening, but as you know, those get more restricted because it's difficult to open the whole campus late in the evening. But the main library is open until 2:30 in the morning, and we could have resources that could be loaned out and used within the main library. Just thinking now, DJ CAD is another area where, again, use of Macs, use of specialist software is potentially useful. Now, we haven't put that in place, but what it needs is yourselves in the lobby to give us feedback that it's a worthwhile activity, and we can embed that into the mid-floor refurbishment. Just quickly now to stop there, how do people feel about that? Is that something that's feasible, or it's not necessary, or do you all get the software you need nowadays on your own PCs? Or is there some specialist license software that's difficult to get on what is the university desktop? But we here is very much discipline-based. So as I say, certainly in engineering and architecture, there can be CAD programs that are quite costly to license. Therefore, you put them on certain PCs, they're usable by someone who needs it at a specific time. Yeah. Exactly, but you have good resources in the building, but then it has to shut sometime. Yeah. Okay. And the interesting thing is, of course, you know, you might, I don't know what your numbers are, but you might have 15 or 20 PCs like that in the building. We don't necessarily need 15 or 20, because maybe after 10 o'clock at night, we're only needing 3 or 4 that are accessible in that way. So that's engineering. DJ CAD, am I right that the sort of specialist software, design software, yeah?
I think students from DJCAD usually have their own computer, so with the software on board, and there are many rooms actually DJCAD already go to
Yeah, but again, after hours it may get difficult. Certainly after a certain time you won't get access to those rooms.
Yeah, DJCAD will be open until 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So I will ask actually in the next week in the meeting what they think about.
Okay, yeah, well that's right. Give us feedback, take it away and ask. And we can check with the schools as well. We can check with the lecturers. What else did I say? Geography. Exactly, yeah, that's the thinking there, that there's some specialist tools. Okay, so this is a concept that could work, but we need to do our homework, and if you can help us with that, that'd be really good. So it applies to anybody else as well. Architecture was another one I said about. I know there's CAD software there. But if you know in your own discipline that there's a particular piece of software that is worthwhile licensing on just a few PCs, then it could be that the library could be the location to facilitate that. Second one for everybody is reading lists as well. So you know the university's got a bit of a drive on reading lists, but we coordinate it, but we can only do as well as the academic staff are at getting us the details of the reading material to go on those reading lists. So for the school presidents, again, lobby your academic staff basically across their different modules. You're aiming for the module leaders to get full reading lists to the library. We give them access to the software, they load it in, we kind of quality control it, troubleshoot it, check that we've got copies in the library, and all that kind of thing. So it's very much a partnership effectively between the students, the academic staff and the library. And then if you like, your discipline or your school can be the very best. And again, that's a clever thing to do because you get better resources for your students. Just in terms of comments from us as well, good response to the survey, not outstanding, but a good number of students completing the survey that we needed for feedback on what we should put into the mid-floor, which we're going to come on to in a moment. And a bit of news as well from the university in general. From an SRC last year, there was a motion to get solar panels installed on the main library roof, which we were quite supportive of as well, because I'd like to see a big panel there, and when it's sunny, much of our laptops and so on can run off solar panels, so that will be worthwhile. We have now secured the funding for that, and of course it'll pay for itself back after about 5 years, so it's not a particularly surprising thing that the university is willing to fund that. But there's a very small window that we have to get them installed on, otherwise we start missing out on the feed-in tariffs from the government. So we're trying to get those in place for the end of December, so you might see a bit of activity there. But that is an initiative that's come from the Student Representative Council that was supported as something that was asked if the university would do that, and we're moving on that, so I think that's a good thing. Okay, so back to those two elements that I said we'd particularly appreciate feedback on. Well, perhaps before we go there, so this is going to be the mid-floor refurbishment and an issue of card access into the main library. Is there anything else that I should take sort of comments from the floor about library services across the board? So we run libraries, clearly the main library, but also the library in the Matthew building at DJCAD. We run the library in Nine Wells in the medical school, and we run one at the Coddy on the campus there, and we also have a site at Perth at the hospital in Perth. So all those sites are accessible to all students. That's the way it works. That's how libraries kind of operate. But you tend to use the ones that particularly suit your discipline. You can take comments on anything really, things like opening hours or friendliness of the staff or numbers of books or study places. Are we getting the balance about right?
Yeah, just a quick question. Do you intend on keeping the library and down over the exam period?
Yeah, that's now a regular thing. So we do that in the two periods, the two exam periods. I think it's about 3 weeks each time. We run 24 hours, and we intend to sustain that well into the next few years. No sign of us stopping that.
Because I know in the end of semester 2 exam guidelines here is that the exams actually went on for a further 2 weeks after the 24 hours was stopped. Is there any consideration to extend that to cover the whole exam?
I would have thought the definition of what is the university exam period is a bit tricky there, because I know some schools are kind of outside of what I would take as the semester period, and leave that with us, we'll look into it. 24 hours is a little bit hard to justify unless we're getting reasonable occupancy during the night. Then we'd probably trip back to 2:30 kind of closing. So when it's busy, yes, 24 hours is certainly worthwhile, but as soon as it drops off, we have to look at the cost effectiveness of it.
Even if it was just a case of keeping one year.
Yeah, we've tried that as well, and that is difficult. I would say if people need particular access, Nine Wells is open. Nine Wells can be given card access, and that is a 24-hour access now. I know that's mainly a medical library, but that again is available for all students. So if a particular group of students have a need for a 24-hour library, they can arrange to get access to Nine Wells. Would say we're looking at, and it depends on how you're lobbying and funding and so on, it might be nice to have the main library open 24 hours, 365. So that's a possibility. We have in the past closed off a portion of the main library and tried to open that 24 hours, but we find that really hard. What we can't determine is which bit of the main library we should close off, because as soon as you lock off the books, that doesn't feel very good. But if you've locked off the cafe, that doesn't feel very good. So it's quite awkward just to open a portion of the building. It's actually easier just to open the door. But again, 24 hours, 365 is not necessarily a good expenditure of money or resource, because you tend to get some times in July where the campus is very quiet and you really question yourself, why are we opening now when very few people? And again, maybe no one in the building at all other than our staff on some July evening. So it's wise to just close up.
Sorry, there's like 2 issues that students brought up that are maybe a little bit more broad in the libraries, but I suppose you're going to take all sorts. So the first one was the students in DJ Cant Library and in Nine Wells were saying that if they're spending time in there, the way the main library has access for places to have hot food, etc., as a microwave and that they would like somewhere like that as well. I don't know in Nine Wells if that has to be done through the hospital. Obviously they've got food vendors there that might, not appreciate, like I worked in W. Smith and I know they were really happy if you just stuck a microwave in like the library there. And the second thing was, which anybody who like had a snack or read my leaflet has seen, like there needs to be somewhere in the libraries for people to relax, and there needs to be, I think Glasgow Cali has the beanbag space, and Queen's in London has a hammock room. I'm not saying like we go to the full extent of like installing hammocks, but a lot of students have identified that, especially late at night when it can be quite a lonely place, the library, and they're stuck writing essays, there's nowhere you can really go where you can escape. There needs to be somewhere to escape the workload, especially for people with mental health as well, on a more sort of medical level.
Yeah, that second query about the sort of the chill out zones, that came back to us in the comments as well in the survey, so we've definitely got that. That'll be addressed, or at least discussed as potentially being addressed in mid-full refurbishment. On the first one, I've just noted down about DJ Cat and Nine Wells with the microwave. I would say first off, in the main library, we are one of the most innovative, kind of courageous, I would say, library services in the UK that are letting you use a microwave. When we tell other people about that, they think we're lunatics. But in the last year, as Ian well knows, and Tim knows, you've seen it in action as well, it's been well worthwhile. It's effectively come through. It's paid off. There was a degree of partnership there. People had to promise to keep it clean and tidy and to use it safely. And that's been the case by and large. It's been 1 or 2 incidents. Whether we could extend that to other libraries, I don't know. And as you say, it's more not so much the space that we might occupy, but that others might occupy that fulfills that purpose in the other campuses. But we can, fair comment. I think
In terms of the microwave, I meet with Alberta tomorrow to discuss the DJ Cab one. I don't know what time for that. Yeah, 12. If you want to come along and speak to me about that, that'd be more than happy to take your comments on board. It's for the canteen, it's not for the library.
yeah, but and that kind of works because that is the hot food area, if you like, for that building.
Sorry.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Could someone take a minute to explain to me what's broken in this country? There's so much conversation about having a microwave. It's £20 investment.
It's mainly for health and safety issues, because for different users, for hygiene stuff.
The microwave operates on a three strike system,
Three-strike, I think,
which
yeah.
doesn't get renewed like every year. It's 3 strikes and then it's gone. I think 1 strike's been already put in place.
Yeah, although I think that'll disappear after a month or 2.
Yeah. They're very strict, and I think, not for minuting, but if health and safety really saw it, I don't think it would have remained.
Although they've been asked about it, so it's okay. It's noted. There's a fire extinguisher nearby. Microwaves are basically a danger. They're a pain in the neck to manage. And it's true. The fire I had in the
The entry
microwave.
criteria is this university way too low?
Sorry?
Entry criteria for this university way too low?
If you're in the library tonight and you can't afford to go to McDonald's for a hot meal, sticking a Russell's burger in the microwave would do quite well.
Yeah, well, it's a good comment, but it's not for us, because you've got a microwave. You've managed to, yeah. So this campus is doing well. Other places, and I would say the world, microwaves has a number of issues, but anyway. As you suggest, let's not dwell on them too.
I'll just ask a question. You see, the process of developing the facility is amazing. What also about other types of development? For example, I think an idea that they said brought up at the beginning of the year is free printing for people in fourth year, people who are having dissertations and stuff. I don't think that is going to be very cost. Oh, why is my shadow? Yeah, that's going to be very cost efficient, and it will help a lot of students who are in fourth year and they have a lot of papers to print and stuff. So I think at least some help or contribution towards the printing, whether it's printing the dissertation, whether it's giving them some free printing for a number of pages and stuff. I think that will get a lot better sense.
Yeah, sorry, I've not had a chance to speak to you properly over. So I met with Paul Saunders, the Director of IT yesterday, put up as a warning on the page. And I discussed the idea, not just for fourth years actually, just some type of looking at the discussion of free printing. And from that, and I was going to bring it up after sort of the main points were discussed, Paul wants to get sort of an action group together involving UODIT stakeholders, library and learning centre stakeholders, and SRC/DUSA to sit down and discuss how it is. I went down with Paul to look at actually sort of how much printing students are doing, because obviously the university charges on a cost basis more than, and that's what you get charged for when you do a printing, and it's about 80 grand per year that students are printing off, and that's quite a significant amount of money. So the idea is that we need to know how to fund that. And actually, if I'm honest, if the environment sustainability rep, I'm sure he would have backed me up, would say that we don't particularly want students printing off hordes and hordes and hordes of papers for no reason, because that's not sustainable and not particularly effective. So it's a combination. I think this is my personal view, is that if a student has to print something off for a deadline, so like when I had to print off essays to give to the politics department, then I believe, yes, the university should maybe be paying towards that. If the student is wanting a luxury to print off certain parts of books or anything like that, we should actually be encouraging them to use online annotation tools and convert them into actually what is now becoming a regular habit.
I kind of don't agree with the last part about being a bursary, because I myself, I can't, like, I've got my iPad and stuff, I can't study on any of that. I need to have it in front of me to take notes of it. Like, for example, I'm studying law, so I need to take example, like, I need to highlight cases underline, I need to do a lot of stuff.
So does differentiate.
Yeah, there's different requirements.
Law was definitely brought up in terms of how much you do have to print.
Yeah, we print a lot.
So it's about that communication as well, I guess, in terms of what is the school and the division, sorry, should actually.
Just the possibility of having it this year, would that be possible? Any kind of contribution for printing? Is it something we could be looking for or not?
Well, I've noted it down again, yeah, I think, and particularly when you lower the costs, that's where, as Tim said, you need to recover much of the cost, but yeah, it may be that we're recovering more than the actual costs and so on, or as you're sort of saying, the university could provide the printers, but the paying costs cover the pay printers.
I think the last time the costs were analysed for the library printings, it's different for DJCAD, because DJCAD actually have different quality paper. I remember speaking to the IT ladies and they were talking about how nice the paper was. It was a weird conversation. So for the library, it hasn't been reassessed in about, and I don't quote me on this, I think it's been about 7 years since it was last assessed in terms of how much it's actually costing to print.
Yeah, because it should be coming down all the time.
Yeah.
Can we just move on to the main library mid-floor refurbishment? Just in case there's any pressing comments on that. Now, just to give you a timeline on this, there is a chance that we may get the capital money, and we're talking about £1 million, to refurbish that mid-floor in the main library. So that's the third floor. And it would be done in the summer period next year. So it would start in about May, just as exams finish, and it would take about 3 months, and it would finish just for the semester, the new semester starts. Now, I recognise the library is still in use by many people, so there'd be a little bit of noise on the ground floor and the top floor. The main of the library would remain usable. We'd have a system so you would still get access to the books that were sort of warded off. But as well, there's a fairly major refurbishment. So that floor gets pretty well cleared apart from the books. The carpet gets replaced, the wall coverings get replaced. And as you've also probably seen, was planned to put a new compartmentalisation, really, more compartments around the outside. Still predominantly it'll remain, we would think, a silent area, so it stays, and that's the feedback coming back from the students as well. Yes, it could incorporate chill zones, and one comment we wanted from you was how do you feel about sleep pods and things like this as well. Now, because I think a number of students also kind of come back to us and say, keep the library traditional, keep the library as a functional learning space, a study space. That's its primary role. If we want to chill out and go somewhere else and so on, you should be, they're telling us we should be focused on getting quality books, getting quality study environment, a lot of silent space. And what we observe, which is fascinating, is that everybody's needs sort of changes throughout the year. There are times where you need to work collaboratively, there are times where you need to work individually. You tend to do that obviously it follows a pattern of academic pattern of exams coming up and things like that. We've got some flexible space, so we can change our spaces to match that. But that predominantly mid-floor is our big silent area, and that's predominantly what it would remain. Another complication as we refurbish is that we have fire capacities on each floor. The same will apply in this building. So we can only have about 600 people on each of the floors of the main library. That means we can't put out more chairs than make up that 600. So you might think, well, you could get in a lot more study spaces, and we could, but then we'd be beyond our fire capacities. So the other thing, of course, is that we are a library, and we do like to hold a fair few traditional books, and they're a good resource. We've got a good history of books, but we're also buying new books all the time. So we're cycling our books. We're always trying to keep up. And as part of the refurbishment, there will still be books on that mid-floor. Now, we don't have books on the ground floor, but we kind of, all the indications we have is that the trend in books might be changing, but it changes over decades and decades. So I don't see the absence of a book in a university library for about another 20, 25 years, I don't think. There was a period where you might have predicted it was going to be about 5 to 10 years away, but really e-book uptake and usability and functionality has not kind of got there yet. So still, for affordability reasons and all sorts of other reasons, physical books remain strong, and that's good by us, that's good by yourselves as a user. So I had chill zones, high-use books. That's predominantly what we're maintaining in that area. There's a potential for a postgraduate area, so that would be for full postgraduates and research postgraduates. And they might get a little bit extra facilities as well. They're kind of, as you've all probably realised, when you get to that stage in your university career, you're expecting a little bit more from the university, a little bit difference in kind of capability that you may have, expectations on service. Talked about compartmentalisation. This is rooms for Skype, rooms for obviously collaborative work. An innovation area as well is quite a possibility. You may have seen this in other places, not just university libraries, but effectively space where you can just sit and think about things. You get whiteboards, you get perhaps good IT, tables containing touch screens and so on. All that is potentially possible, and we were getting good feedback on the survey about that. And another query for you really about the Wi-Fi performance, because that came back in the survey as one of the #1 concerns. Better Wi-Fi was one of the things that we were asked about. But then our question is, what's wrong with the current Wi-Fi? Because we do everything we can, or at least IT do everything they can, to get decent Wi-Fi in the building. So again, let us know about this. Yeah, just a few almost. This is Chris Backler who is the Assistant Director of Service Delivery. So Chris has responsibility for those 5 libraries that I was talking about. She'll know exactly the stage I'm at when we're about to discuss the mid-floor refurbishment. And finally, on that sort of introduction to the thing, was the cafe characteristics as well. Are you comfortable with how the cafe is laid out and operates? Bearing in mind that that's a DUSA responsibility, they're the providers of those facilities, although we organise the space. We don't actually look after the tables and the facilities, which is a nice partnership because it means the space stays open and you can bring in your own food, as we discussed with microwaves and so on. Although we do, of course, like hot food to remain in that cafe area, but it doesn't have to be just hot. Right, going back over all that, any particular pressure points? Can I start with Wi-Fi then? What of the Wi-Fi performance? Just collectively, is it too poor or is it okay? We know you come in with 3 or 4 devices each. Some of you are coming in with access points which can conflict with the access points that we run. If you can turn those off because they're a nuisance and they affect the performance for other users. The whole, as you might imagine, there's a whole science behind the regions and Wi-Fi and so on. But if we're not getting it right, then let us know. Because it needs to be a lot better.
I think there's been exam times where everyone's in the library, and that's where we fail. Most sometimes devices are not working, and when I've been here for 3 years, I've finished it for 2 years, just doesn't work during exam times because of the overload of students.
Particularly busy periods.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And what happens is phones run slow and laptops run slow. And
Sometimes my laptop does not connect to at all, so.
yeah. I'm dealing with the library. That's true. Yeah. 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 Actually, you're dead right. We've never, other than announcing it here, we've never said that. Yeah. 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 Actually, I must check my son's one because around the house, I bet you he's on the same channels that we run in the house, and he'll be interfering with them is what it is. But it really happens, as you say, when it's busy. That's where you really notice it.
Is that the same for if somebody's bringing 3 or 4 devices? Normally, people are using 1 or 2 at a time. Is it worth recommending people, turn off Wi-Fi of unnecessary devices during exam time?
Actually, the devices are quite clever, so they know not to connect unless they're being used. So you're right. I think that used to be the guidance, but it doesn't need to be nowadays. It's actually, as you probably all know, but all sorts of different Wi-Fi issues. There's different, about 11 different channels for the main Wi-Fi, but there's even more for what's coming as the new Wi-Fi, which is shorter range but more diverse. And new devices, like laptops, will connect on both frequencies. So they're getting cleverer, but all the time, Chris and I are dealing with the issues of lots of devices on what can be always last year's Wi-Fi. We never quite. Okay, that's Wi-Fi. We better go. Chris will be keen on this. The sleep pods and the chill zone. We've already had representation that yes, a space to chill out is good, bean bags, this sort of thing. But I guess we're asking you, is the library the right place for that? And our long opening hours might be we're the only place for it. But would it get, when it, if you like, we'll quickly put up our defence, we're not that keen on sleep pods in the sense that we don't provide libraries, as a hotel. We're not a place to go and sleep. We can appreciate you might need 40 wicks or something, 30-minute snooze. Maybe we can do something there. But as you can imagine, we've got the whole management issues. It's got to be appropriate snooze and all this sort of thing. So over to you. Is that reasonable? We've seen them in other libraries as well, and we're getting down to Manchester with that sleep pod.
Yeah, I think generally at some point a line needs to be drawn to the fact that at the end of the day, I so agree with what you're saying, the library in the traditional sense, it's we go to study work hard, and I think the whole issue with procrastination, as a student, I think is a problem that we face every day, and I think putting things like sleep pods, children and stuff, yeah, of course there needs to be a line somewhere. I'm sorry, I was trying not too far. So yeah, it
Some of the feedback said that as well.
Children absolutely sleep on that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When you say children, I don't know, super you guys or something you were saying, like a room that's just not got any sort of sit. So like you said, there's times when the library is just, I don't know if you're here, I would go to Lyre or Air and sit and have coffee and get away from having it.
Arguably, the cafe fulfills that function. Compared to their competency to
Yeah.
the cafe. So, yeah, I think the variety seems to be some sense of learning.
We're kind of potentially in the walled off area as well. It'd probably be glass walls nowadays.
This is what we've got the ground floor general area. It's also people to work, but campus says for lots of people to talk so that's where you could go. And have like a general talk or chill out room.
Yeah.
That's mythical way to focus on the ground floor.
Yeah. It's sort of a slightly more social than the ground floor is. Because the ground floor is designed to be, as you probably understand here, work group sort of thing. Although sometimes it's appropriate that it's a bit more social. Sorry.
I think the sleep pods would be a bit too far, because then if you've got a microwave in there and there's no you could have people who just don't go home, and that becomes unhealthy. Like my brother studies at Aberdeen, and he's known people in his course to stay in the library for 3 or 4 days because they've got sleep pods, and it's not, and he like that just seems wrong to me for people to stay there in that kind of unhealthy manner.
Showers, breakfast areas.
Just another perspective maybe. Myself and others have seen the need to have an app and library, and one of the things I've noted often about sort of that is very uncomfortable at the table, and which it's very necessary for those who work, try to work overnight. You can't keep up the fitness level over the whole night, you stress the week. So some really need sort of say 20 minutes, half an hour sleep and not feel awkward about just putting their face down. If there's that same room in a sort of chill room, which is designed for that sort of activities, chill, lay back. It doesn't have to be a sleep or just like a position you can sit in and sort of close your eyes and not feel that you're being victim of something more, that you're just to be comfortable that you're doing it. As long as you're relaxed, as long as 20 minutes to sort of refreshing yourself, is very good for mentally. So I think it's
Slightly conflict that we might be thinking about a space that's a social space where you can kind of converse and talk, and there's another one, a space that's a bit quieter that you can actually catch 40 winks kind of thing. I don't know if those are different. Okay, right.
During the day, it would feel like everybody's sort of like busy, then at night, I suppose like we can't like
It's kind of thing you see at airport lounges and that, where you would have News 24 running quietly, and then somebody will want it to just tune into that. That's enough of a prompt to take away. It provides a bit of background noise, but it's not something that you still can't have a quick snooze sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that they do shift sleep points to them. Why do we the fixation being the library? If you really are that tired, you need to have sleep. You should just do it and look at things. Because you aren't really getting your work done for that hard. I just think you go off the internet there, or you do the library and try to and you fall asleep.
Yeah.
I think when I speak to the students about it, they envision the chill zones being similar to libraries themselves, whereas the two quiet zones would have quiet chill zones where they can go into silence, and rather than sleep pods, just have comfortable, like what you were saying about knocking your head in the desk, comfortable seating that lends itself to sleeping on the two silent floors, just like with study silent, how they can relax silently. And then on the bottom floor, because although there is the two sofas, like if you went in, if I've got a fence gun there, and they're the only people in that room, it's not very conducive to community atmosphere. So on the loud section, obviously the library is not massive, it's not the hardest, like you can't fit everything in. But if there was, and obviously it's only the middle zone getting refurbed now, but if in the long run there's some way that the bottom floor is having noisy ones for people to converse, like you're saying, people to talk, and then the middle two have quieter, maybe darker ones where people can go and just shut their eyes for half an hour. And if they were, another issue though, possibly that was brought up, that people said they'd like to fall asleep, is that it needs to be supervised. You need to have some sort of supervision on that. You can't just have, like, I don't know how comfortable I'd be falling asleep in a room.
Alarm bells are going off there, yeah, again now. We're not interested in supervision.
But I think the main interest was quiet areas of relaxation and loud areas of relaxation rather than physical sleeping pods, just maybe a darker, quieter one and a louder, brighter one with a TV with Sky News or BBC News or Sky Sports News or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of a suggestion, obviously, not necessarily quiet, I think everyone understands positive and that option. But have you considered working with places like airport lounges that have those kind of longer chair type things which allow you to like have a nap, but are not conducive to having a for me, you have to use it, that, you know, if somebody has to crash, they're comfortable enough to do so, but they don't remotely go and
Just a bit of the chair that allows you to get up and down.
yeah, and
Sounds
then
like
it throws
comfortable,
you
doesn't
out.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, obviously you need the tannoy of the gates.
Unsupervised. Yeah. Well, Chris has seen some of these in other places.
So these are just like plastic goes on the shelf.
Yeah.
Good idea, because it's, again, it's a nice humble effort.
We can balance that slightly, but we can put some out and then if it turns out to be more, the whole idea of making compartments is it brings flexibility and agility to the front of the building. A little, yeah. And indeed, I guess you need more detail. You need to come see the plans or look at the plans that we have up on display.
The sleeping pods I don't think would work. What passed me in the library, you know I like to sleep. But it just doesn't really kind of work in. You know, you've got the options not to work. Most people probably won't do it.
Yeah. Well, we're liking that feedback, but we are also getting this idea of some comfy chairs in some spaces which are chilling out kind of areas. And indeed, we would say as well in the consultation, we've got a lot of dots, a lot of stickers on the areas that show that as well. So we had photographs up, and you can see the very popular comments of one of them.
I imagine the library has looked into the sort of mental health aspects, the advantages of power naps and relaxation. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we see that kind of issue coming up around exam time and things like this. So, you know, not just students as well, everybody's stress level goes up. Same at the start of the year and things. So we're kind of aware that, you know, our role is to kind of always calming down, always be listening and these sorts of things. So I think you're right. I mean, part of that is about furniture and design, architecture as well. So yeah, those are useful instances. Can I ask you, because we're running on a bit, so we'll close things down shortly. But we did have this issue of access as well. And Chris was probably voice on that. Well, I can quickly say what it is, and then Chris will chip in with the detail. You know that when you come into the main library, we like to see everybody's card, because effectively staff or student or indeed visitor, we like to know who's in the building, and it does mean that our security levels stay very high, and it means that theft and so on is quite scarce, as well as incidents within the building that are quite rare. Now, that's quite an overhead on us to maintain, and particularly recently it's got very challenging because there's been ever more students are leaving their cards behind and aren't showing them, but are requiring day passes. Now, to keep security high, before we issue a day pass, we need to check who that person is and to double check them on the system that they actually exist. This is genuinely for everybody's good in that building, because it does mean we can all relax more once we're in there. That said, the people who are leaving their cards behind are creating really quite a bottleneck of work for us, and it can mean for other students as well who are visiting. It takes longer to get in. So we have a policy at present which has evolved a bit, but it is that there is an unlimited number of day passes that you can ask for in the current year. In the past, we have had that limited to about 3 before we started to have sanctions. We never want to restrict people, particularly genuine people who might, you know, become very forgetful about their card. But I guess we're just wanting to ask you, what's a better way of managing this? We have 1 or 2 strategies we could propose, but if anybody's got a perfect solution, that would be good.
Yeah, I was just going to mention something about kind of post-graduate research space. One of the, obviously the biggest things, being a research student myself, as well as a lot of other research students, is obviously the final year of a PhD or research dissertations is one thing. So having a research writing
really beneficial for research students particularly. They was able to work on 7,000 words.
Yeah.
So it would be quite helpful.
So what would be helpful, could you make time to come and see Chris or I, or both of us, and to just go through some of the detail on that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and almost consult with your colleagues as well,
Mhm.
some of your constituents if you like. And then, yeah, let's discuss that, because we're quite excited by that.
Social psychology and some basic models.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but as you're saying, at the time of write-up, there might be certain facilities that will be present in the library that will fulfill that.
Yeah, because I know some labs have writing rooms, but I don't think there's a space for that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, it'll be good to get that pinned down in the next few weeks, really.
Yeah, sure.
Because we're at the stage of finalising the plans for Christmas, really. Everything will get finalised at Christmas.
The rest of becoming like a library, just from experience, just looking at, I don't know if you've thought this, but this is something we goes to a lot of football matches. Our season ticket let us go through a turnstile, and the security guards are there specifically for people with problems with their season ticket. So if you could make the turnstiles recognise cards, so the security guard can then be separate from the turnstiles and only deal with people who need day passes, allowing the turnstile to be an actual turnstile rather than just one you put your hands and go through.
Get that in place for many years. In fact, last year at this meeting, we asked DUSA support to lobby the university to allow us to get that kind of access control, the automated access control, as you described it, which just about every other university has. And in fact, Ian McKinnon came along to several meetings and supported us in that. But unfortunately, it also coincided with the IT restructuring in the university, and it's not gone forward. But it is something that we've very much before again, and just as much as we can. But it's in the meantime, what strategies can we use in the meantime before that's going to be
Yeah, no, it's just around that. I think the SRC has been lobbying that since I got here, like 4 decades ago. But I think it always comes back to the element of cost, and the university, it's a big undertaking for them to look at.
Obviously, if there's a bottleneck problem, we'll do one solution is to hire more staff, and surely an electric turnstile is cheaper than hiring more staff. Not that a computer than a person stuff, like you want to hire them.
Yeah, you still need the staff anyway, you're right, but it's fewer staff, yeah, you get by with fewer staff.
the staff can concentrate on other things rather than technical costs.
But it also makes it's a lot easier to manage as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll take that back, I think that's a fair comment, we'll reinvigorate ourselves to push for that again. It's not a huge sum of money, but it's money and a complex problem as well, because it's all about data and outcomes. So you kind of need about £150,000 and you need about 20 key people. Two things are quite hard to do.
Once again, there's not a lot of different parts, and there's one thing related to libraries. There's so many ways to get questions all the time. Until there is something else in place, keep one more and have to have your resolutions, but have your resolutions to all the parents and any. I know, but that happens too late. Like, there's other ways the library can interest the students and live. Well, actually, it was the library because at that point, I'm like, well, actually, I was just here doing watch it.
We'll try Facebook, we do put it on Facebook on a regular basis. Yeah, so
We just maybe filters in calls and other parts.
What about if we switch to, after 3 day passes, then you pay £1 each time you come with them?
Where does that money go to?
Yeah, well, money can support the printer. We don't need the money. We just don't want the staff.
I'd support if that money went to RAG. Could be a good little campaign. RAG, raising and giving effort of DUSA. Would be raising money for a charity.
Yeah.
I would see printing because students can see that money is coming to stuff that they'll benefit from. So I can see it going to printing better than, not better, but going to printing.
Should be more than £1. Can escalate, yeah. Next 3 are £1, and then after that it's a £5. I mean, our challenge is we don't want to put students coming into the building, yeah? We want people using the facilities. And the last thing we want to do is charge for it. But we're having to employ, exactly. And as we said, we're having to employ more staff to manage the.
It's 2,000 bed passes being issued since the start of this semester. It's a huge waste of time. And it tends to be the same people all the time.
I mean, just to back up the point of student cards, universities' whole agenda is to have swipe card access all over the buildings. So that whether you be computing, DJ CAD, life sciences, they're doing it in the tower building at the moment. They've even moved security, as you'll probably notice if you walk on the side of DUSA, the security have now moved into the library around that area, so it means that tower building won't be open as much, and they're going to have swipe card access. So that's, in general, student culture is going to have to change because the way swipe card access is going to work, actually for the benefit of students, so they can access buildings out of hours more.
I just.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of charity's fine.
Just-
Hardship fund is usually as well.
Just on the swipe card access.
So I've got 5 names on the list. What are doing
Yeah, it's the first one. Would it also become so the deal is, I know sometimes if I go back home to someone who will work, micropassing, and we send them using that.
We have a problem that people share the password, because it doesn't have a photo on it. So if we've got that risk, we prefer it to be a daily risk. If someone has a legitimate reason for a long-term access, then we give them a plastic card and we do a little process for that. So it's a separate process.
Yeah, I think it's just a simple sign on the way out of the library as well. I think a lot of the problem is caused by people that leave their library card in the bag when they try to go into a shop, and it causes a huge problem as well. Just 2 signs as you go out of the door, down inside the floor or the stairway, to get under your library card. They don't get it.
Remember, your card all goes to the bank.
Just very quickly, I think everyone enjoyed the idea of transfer students with actually using their chances. I disagree with that idea. I try to see a sense of library and as long as we can get to everyone, more the better.
That's just TV already kind of hard.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of, you've got exactly the issue we would face there. You want us to buy fewer books then and staff the desk more for people who forget their cards, because we have to do one of those two. You know, if we're going to put staff on to allow people, as we're describing, to come to the desk, we're going to buy fewer books. And our judgment is 3 is about right, and they should have moved by then. And as Chris's statistics show, people are just abusing it now. They're just not bothering bringing their card and just getting day passes each time. So that's creating too much work for us. It's not a nice, sometimes library fines are the same. We don't like library fines, but patrons tell us library fines are good because it means you can get access to the books that you want to get. Because there's nothing worse than putting a hold on a book and it's never appearing because the person hasn't got a sanction against them. So therefore we use money. Yeah.
I guess we need a library management system, updating process of implementing it, which will enable us to be different against differently from what we do now. What we're keen to do is to get rid of fines when the book is simply overdue. So if nobody else wants that book, then you pick it out later and it's due date, it wouldn't be an issue because why are we fining you when all you do is put it back on the shelf? And the new system will allow us to do automatic renewal, so it will just automatically keep on renewing your own. The difference is when somebody else requests that book, especially books that are in high demand. If a request was placed on a book, we would then expect you to bring it back within, say, a week. And if you didn't bring it back then, that's when you think the fine would be appropriate. What's the general view on that?
Yeah, no, I was just like, it's again, like, drawing the line somewhere, like, you don't go to the bank and you get your card and get money out, like, it's just, it happens when we drivers go into something great exit, but totally you understand, you know, the building people all the time.
Yeah, and well, maybe the fact you can get some better performances in the workout.
Yeah, there is, but it's back to that sort of electronic access and just get proper door access control. So we'd rather invest in that. Probably again work off the cards. Well, that might work off the phone, but the university doesn't have an identity system on the phone, other than if you log in, which we would have as a component of the door access system. So that would be the backup. When you put up the card, you have an automatic way of logging in, getting the pass. It does involve stuff. So yes, I know it's out there. Yeah, yeah. But we'd have to set up a terminal to allow that. But we have discussed precisely that, yeah. We've talked about having a page of ID that you can then just print and you bring that as your day part. Yeah. We may get stuck into that.
Yeah, it's just that about the fines. Like I do agree, you need to be quite strict for people that are doing their cards. Why not see a 30% just say no to one benefit? And then I don't really like the idea of fining them. Basically, nice that like there's an idea of like dropping fines for not bringing them because your books. It seems a bit ironic that when they're charging should come to life but not charging them or not bringing back books.
That's someone other than illegal.
It's the third time.
So we've got a lot of people with their cards in the library and then go for lunch and come back with it. I think all the people I know get the advantage that's what they do. It's when they come back with their card, they leave the library without their card. You've got to come back in.
It's been covered.
There was a few nods around the table, so generally people think that we can do away with fines as much as we can just on simple renewals, but you can accept that they are a necessary evil to get the books back when they're required.
It will be quite an education process because, you know, you could go to the shelf, you get the book and it's not there. We don't want you to do is go away and say, oh, the library has got the book you want. What we want you to do is realise that if there's a reservation on that book, you will get it. So we'll do this campaign.
Just on the fact that once someone places a request on the book, you're then expected to bring it in a week. I assume that doesn't affect your initial loan. Like when you initially take the book out, you don't. If someone places it the next day, you don't have to take it back. Yeah. No, it's just. Yeah.
It depends on the book, actually. So we're quite familiar with that. Right?
It depends on the student, you know, a final year student representation might be able to bring that versus an advanced student.
I've got a question from Kirsty and Jenny in there. With the students of the reminder, like they email, do they get an email and say, it's not even requested?
This isn't kind of about books, but as a film student, you only let loans for films for one day. And while writing essays and dissertations, it gets to the point when you kind of have to keep renewing it each day, and it gets in the way of writing your essay because you need to take screenshots constantly instead of doing like 100 screenshots at the end of your essay on the day your essay is due. So just increasing it instead of a one-day loan to. It's
I think one day would be better as maybe 2 or 3 if we could manage that.
a week would be better, just Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but it also means we have one day, so it turns over rapidly as well. But we hear what you're saying, because it might make no sense at all. We might be thinking that people are taking films out to watch them, not to do academic work with them, which is what
But like looking at the films on the modules for film students, they're not really films people will take out to watch for enjoyment.
No.
They're very odd films.
But are they on films that quite a few people are wanting to view for their course?
They are, but quite often my class of film, my year, is only 7 people, and our essays are all on different directors.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point where we're having to take them out, return them the next day, and then wait for them to be returned to the shelf to take them back out to carry on our essay. No, the main library.
So no online access to films?
Well, that's affordable, no. No, I think that's been excellent, really. That's very good feedback. Thank you. As you said, it was a good conversation, and it was, so that's pretty good. And keep coming back to other tools.
BBC or something.
Box of broadcast. Jenny, you know there's box of broadcast?
Oh no, don't worry about it. So it's okay.
So we're going to previous edits. If we have
I'll propose them.
I'll second that.
So over to Tim.
Okay, give a bit of context. About every 6 years, okay, take it out further. University is run by what is effectively a board of trustees, much like DUSA, because it's a charity. It's labelled University Court, it's the highest governing body of the university, makes all the big strategic decisions, the big financial decisions. There are things in the past that they've done that are probably noticeable for the students. They're the ones who, a long time ago, started PS, which was opposed by the SRC at the time. They also have the right to start forced redundancy committees, which again was opposed by us at the time. But those are just the kind of things that they do. Every 6 years, they have to elect a different chair. In the past, it's always just been someone who gets chosen within the court. So whoever's been a member at the time, there's a little mini election within the court. It's not particularly democratic. Ian pushed for change, and I kind of continued it at retreat that it can't be a fact of someone being internally recruited because it's not democratic and it's not really representative of the university. There's kind of two sides to the story, because there's one side where the court is representative, but it's a governing body, and governance isn't representation to a certain extent. Anyway, cut a long story short, there's an appointment panel for the new chair of court, so they're advertising externally for someone to come in and become basically the big figurehead of court and one of the leading representatives of the university. When they were putting the description together, the only thing that I said was, it's all very well and me having an input on this, but ultimately on my conscience there needs to be SRC involvement in terms of the input of the role description, what will go out to external agencies, so on and so forth. So the description's been given out. I did send it out earlier on in the week to give people a bit more of a chance to have a look at it. No one's got back to me in terms of any comments, so I'm going to presume everyone's quite happy with what's been put forward. Ultimately, from my point of view, I want someone who's actually got an idea of what Dundee's all about, and what actually, from a student perspective anyway, what do students mean at Dundee. So that's kind of the thing that's on my agenda for the whole thing. I'm on the appointment panel along with 3 other lay members. The university principal, Pete, and the university secretary sits in attendance as well, as to sort of make sure due process has been followed. If anybody has any comments, and if so, if they want to approve what's been put out here, I can then go back to essentially saying that students have given their approval of what's been put in here. It would be very helpful.
I'll give you a mark.
I'll get it from Marshall, like.
In general, or just?
Just so I have like a comment on the nomination committee. It's you, Pete, and Jim, isn't it? So.
And 3 other lay members.
Oh, okay, so they are independent.
Yes, they're completely, sorry, I did say that, yeah. So there's members who were, they came forward themselves, they weren't chosen within the court, they were volunteers basically to say they want to be part of it, including the current vice chair who said he doesn't wish to stand. I should also say internal members can go for it, and there's one person who I won't name does want to go for it, who is an internal member, but he won't be able to sit on it. But it is complete equal representation of that. I would like, if anyone has any major objections with what's been proposed, please speak now, whoever holds a peace. No? And are people happy for me to say on behalf of the SRC that they approve what has been put forward there? Fantastic, thank you.
Apologies for mine being so short. 2 seconds.
of advice for them. Is that all right? Don't panic, it's nothing tragic. No, I'm the mature super old people representing.
You didn't have to give up.
No, but you'll understand. I've had several meetings about refreshers, and we tend to get a lot of mature students and postgraduates starting in January. I'm starting up a welcome pack for the students that start at that time of year, because there tends to be a lot more support and a lot more advertising to students who start in September. And there are people that may start in January that feel a lot out of the loop, especially when it comes to representation, because we have all the elections and stuff in the beginning of the year. It may be January time, the only thing they see coming up is the exec elections, and they don't have to get involved. If anyone's interested in giving me ideas or letting me know what might be interesting to give to students that start at the time of year, you send drop me an email, as I'll be working on that for the next month. Thanks. Yeah. I work very hard.
So do you have any questions for, first of all, the exec project? You're good. Good.
I'm curious about your Twitter campaign for these big stars. So how do you think you're going to build momentum just on Twitter? Or
So,
are you going to social media?
we will be doing, for example, so what we're going to do is that we're going to get a questionnaire up on DUSA website, hopefully, or an enterprise gym website. We already have a blog ready, so we're ready, the blog is there, we still need to publish it, we'll probably get published this week, next week, and that blog will relate to a question where the students go over there and you just choose the person that they want to come. So we are expecting a lot of students to take part in it, because we'll be advertising on the DUSA Facebook page, on other stuff. However, we'll be doing also on ground floor, so on campus work. We, as I said, we've got Sophia, another couple of other people who will be like wearing t-shirts and going over, signing people, letting them just like which ones you want, and they can choose which one they want. And then at some point we will say we'll start our Twitter campaign. And when we start our Twitter campaign, we obviously need more creative ideas. So we either it's going to be Facebook, either it's going to be like going on with posters and stuff like that. Well, I think the first step would be to first get students to choose the person, and then after that we can see what other steps we can take to start a Twitter campaign. Sophia, do you want to
No, just want to comment that we set the goal to reach, the first person who reaches 1,000 and
Yeah.
1,500, then we're going to choose him or her to
'Cause-
actually come and start the campaign.
The way how we
as
just
first.
do it is that we want to make it something big for Dundee itself, not Dundee University, like the whole Dundee city by Dundee University. So it's not going to be even, the thing is not going to be in Dundee Uni, it's going to be in Cairns Hall, hopefully, if someone replies back to us. So I'll make sure I'll keep SLC updated. I'll make sure I'll ask for volunteers if anyone wants to come up and join. And that'll be great. I'll post on the Facebook group, guys, we're doing this today, do you want to come and join? I'm more than happy if anyone wants to get in this campaign, actually have work on it. Just get in contact with me and we'll invite you to meetings. I think we have a meeting tomorrow. Yeah, we have a meeting tomorrow, so if you guys are up to that, you're more than welcome to come. Great, thank you. What's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron, that's it. Oh,
I was just saying, maybe just as a pointer as well, a lot of these kind of big names have their own personal brands that they manage.
Yeah.
So just making sure that if you do start a campaign, from my experience anyway, that it aligns with their brands and it aligns with the kind of stuff that they're willing to give out against. And that's something maybe you might want to consider moving in research state.
How we see it is that Dundee University has not had a big speaker for the last 5 years. The last speaker we had was Brian Cox, because he's our rector. So this is something that we need to put the basis for. So even if this campaign does not work this year, even if students lobby that person and that person does not show up, I think it's increasing engagement by the enterprise gym and DUSA, and giving hope to students to get a big speaker like that. I think all students coming together and working on it is the aim of this campaign, whether the person comes at the end or not. It's just mobilizing students and letting them having some hope and something big for the learning. And I think this is an approach that Dundee University should be taking, like just getting big speakers, inviting people to come over. I always watch things that happen in Oxford and stuff. There's a lot of things happening over there, but we don't have anything here. And I think Dundee is becoming a developing city right now. We have the #1 in Scotland as a university, so there's good potential in that.
As a Scottish football fan, like raising people's hope and then like crushing them.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I've been really excited that like J.K. Rowling was coming. Like,
it's not that
and
you
as soon as I'd be there, like, how come you called me God of the Rings? I'm pretty gutted just didn't turn up. And then I would never ever help you with anything ever again. There's like enough of that already.
That makes sense. It has its ups and downs. Like it has advantages and disadvantages. We see that it will increase engagement. We'll get a lot of people out there. there's huge potential that someone will come. I mean, J.K. Rowling, for example, lives in Edinburgh, so it's not far trip. Simon Cowell, he's up for to Glasgow anyway for some voice auditions. Some other people.
Some voice auditions.
What was it? X Factor.
There we go.
Friends
It's not really, can we like go
Are we looking back to the
topic?
topic? Sorry? Do we have
What are they
it?
gonna do?
For example, J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling started her life
If
from
anybody
writing.
has any questions for Omar, can you
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Maggie. Can I answer it? Or?
can you discuss this after the meeting?
Sure, no problem.
Does anybody have any questions for Katie before she? Okay. So if I may, can we move on to any other business? So start with Omar with the engagement.
Can someone speak before me in the board with me right now? I'll go after that.
The library reps got something to say. I was like, I spoke to Becca about it, and it's not like for anything serious. It was just I went to a meeting through in Glasgow at Strathy, and it was about the prevent strategy that the government has made universities comply with. I spoke to and it's basically to try and stop extremism, but it's very racist. Like, and I just one is if anyone has the time, obviously it's coming at Christmas, like assignments are coming out your ears, but if anyone's got time to how you look at it, and then when we come back, not at the next meeting, just before the next meeting, and if you have any opinions on it, because I think if other people are interested in doing something to prevent, then it'd be quite interesting to speak to you. I did message
Apologies for not getting that.
but
Is it actually in the way? Oh, sorry.
thanks.
Can I?
As-
Yeah, sorry. So it's something that's on the university's agenda quite high up in terms of, was it monitoring advisory group interview we went to? Is that the name of it now? It's called SAG now. Yeah. Safe. So
Safeguarding advisory group.
they're writing the university's policy on it is they don't want to actually, they want to put a very, very light touch on it because they don't want to be seen to be getting involved. And from DUSA's point of view, we don't really, there's only so much we can really do. That's what's been expected of us from the government. We don't want to actually start monitoring society because it's up to the societies, and it's about the policy that they're putting together. Originally started as freedom of speech, didn't it? But it's now completely changed to just a freedom of expression. And so that's to make sure that students, not only with the events that they are holding, but there's also in terms of DJ CAD and any events that they hold, whether it be in art exhibitions, so on and so forth, to make sure that they have the freedom they can to make sure that they're not being restricted from this new prevent strategy that's coming from Westminster.
Obviously, Dundee University's got a proud history of this because Dundee was the city where it was tested in, and what, like 6 years ago or something, they tested I can't remember the word for it, but they tested prevent here pretty much different guys in Dundee University College and Abertay, plus the population basically ran Tayside, police who it was at the time, out of they were trying to monitor the communist network, not something that I'm in, but it was just the guinea pig for prevent, which is now also being rolled out, but
it's very much from it was Fiona O'Donnell, who's basically the university's lawyer, and Keith Mackle, who's, I'm going to say, deputy director of student services, for the sake of a better word. It's very much a light touch that's going to be put forward, and I think that's welcome from our view as well, is that the university doesn't want to have to stop. And I think it's not so much expression terrorism. I think for an academic point of view, it's something that should be explored. I think the term that they're going down is inciting violence, which is something I can, from my point of view, get on board with, but it is a very light touch. I'll speak to you about it in terms of what the policy is and get you part of the discussion with external relations.
You see, if you want to start a campaign over that, just get all lefty parties at uni and just let them sign a statement saying that we deny any university interference in our own student life and stuff like that, and bring it up to the students, to the university senate or university, whoever is responsible. That would be really important.
It's been brought up to the NUS, which is something much higher. Like as a member of a lefty leaning thing, we've got no say about anything. So it's obviously look at us. It's a more broad view because it transcends politics. It's about how we want to see ourselves as a university and as a student body. Do we want to see ourselves the standing, especially as such an international community. Do you want to see yourselves as an international community or a closed off community? I don't know how much going and getting like the Radical Independent Society would join that would help.
I think the best thing to do for is get part of the conversation of what the university is doing, because then you actually make a difference.
Start a workshop with parties at uni and see what they're points about it and just come up with a statement, and then that'll be quite useful. I can help with the contact and stuff.
Yeah.
Sure. I reply.
Yes. DUSA TV, as you've seen from my update, we are part of this thing called NASTA, which stands for the National Association of Student Television. What does it stand for?
National Student Television Association.
That.
That's why it's a small A.
Yeah.
Boom.
So that's what it stands for. And this year we're holding the Scottish Regional Conference in March, which seems, it was March we discussed. It seems quite far off, but we're having to fundraise for a lot of it to pay for rooms and speakers to come, stuff. So we're fundraising. We're having a bake sale on the 30th of this month outside the union, and then on the 3rd of December we're hopefully having a pub quiz. So please come along, get all your friends to come along. We need as much support as we can get to get the funds to hold this conference.
Can I just add that if anybody wants to help with organising the conference, then feel free to sign up, speak to us if you've got any ideas for this, or if you've got any ideas for fundraising. Yeah, I should add that I'm part of NASA. That's why I'm not different.
Should we start SRC engagement?
Yes, unless anybody wants anything.
I've been speaking with the chair of the Dundee Youth Council and welcomed like a couple of people if they'd like to come along and sit with us on it. Well, sit with them on it. I mentioned it to Tim and Ben.
Do you want to sell it to us?
It's engaging with the wider community. Some of the people are doing this.
When's it?
It's Thursday nights each week. I've arranged where it's like, we've got individual studies. I've arranged with the charity where I had people going forward. We could have like a group, and then one would go each week and they would contact each other throughout it. So say if two people, it'd be like alternative weeks. So the first week would be one session would be different. It'd be back to the first one. So it wouldn't be as much of it as we would do.
What's the group called?
The Dundee Youth Council.
Oh, right, okay.
But it's just kind of engaging with the wider community.
Yeah. If you want to come in and chat about it,
Yeah.
that'd be
Right, so SRC Engagement Committee. So as you've all been voted by people, you've all been voted by students. I think students deserve to know at the end of the year what you guys have done, what policies, what achievements have you achieved and stuff. So SRC Engagement Committee is mainly highlighting your achievements. So last year we had the SRC Engagement Week. Some of the events went very well, some did not. We had no one showing up to the pub quiz, but it was 6 people, wasn't it?
People showed up, just not many.
6 people.
Dodgeball was great fun.
Yeah, so we had some good activities, some were not. So we're looking to have a new approach for the SRC engagement this year. So not only having an SRC engagement week, however, also having SRC engagement events during next semester, during the time. Also, I was going to bring it as a shock to TV, we're looking at having a video for that SRC representatives.
John told me we're already in
Okay,
talks
sorry.
with Stuart about
Sure.
filming student representatives.
Yes.
You're here.
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the university is looking to update their web pages on representation. One of the things I'm looking to do is have more, I've spoken about having maybe some more film content, testimonials from different reps, probably more from coming from school presidents, class reps rather than SRC per se, but we're in the early stages of that discussion. So might be something, are you talking about something bigger?
Well, look at, you see, the DUSA exec video we have,
Yeah,
I think something
the
would be
issue, we
similar.
don't want to keep repeating that format of the
Oh.
video because we've already
Use it
we've used it once and there's discussions of using it again with other things within DUSA. The issue is as well is that I know Gillian last year when she was manager tried to arrange times for SRC councillors to come in and do this kind of video, and very few of them actually signed up to do it, and we as an outlet don't have time to spend 3 hours waiting for people to turn up.
What we need to make it clear is that that's for you guys in order to let people know what you've done. If you don't want to do it, it's okay. It's for you. You get what I mean? If you want to do it, then you should be committed to what you've signed up for. So that's how everyone sees it this year. Not that we're asking all of them to come, but we're going to ask whoever wants to come and show people what he's done. That's great. We'll look more into it.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
We'll look more into it. But that's the whole aim of the engagement committee, just to increase engagement with SRC. Everyone's welcome in it. I think it's the duty of every councillor to come over because you guys must let voters know what you've done. So we have regular meetings on Monday, every Monday at 5 o'clock in the Hive. So feel free to come. You don't have to come every week, but at least show up once so that we can just discuss new ideas and stuff. I would like to have also school presidents on the committee at some point because we're looking into some things for you guys, and without you, we cannot really go forward. Because no school president showed up last year. So
just on a point, I think it's like I know obviously like everyone's busy and stuff, but it's all kind of a lot of big commitment. I think it's difficult. It's just time and stuff.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. It's every Monday, 5 to 6. Come whenever you want. No pressure. We're all in 4th year. I'm at station. Everyone has everything, so no pressure at all. We're doing this as voluntary work. They just have to put some time for it. That's it.
Yeah, so I've met with half of you, talked about your SRC course for the year. It is literally in and out, like scanning some of your goals and then so I want to set up time next week, so I'll book some page because I haven't had one to even do anything. So I'll set up about 4 or 3 hour period, just 10 minutes, tell me your goals and then you can leave. So and if you want to discuss stuff further, I'm happy to discuss meetings with you, but just want to be very brief. And then at the end of the year, hopefully meet up with you again at some point even after the SRC meeting, see how you've got on. It's not sort of we want to check to see if you're doing your job. We obviously want you to do and to get engaged. I can't sing. And get engaged with your students, but if there's something that you see as vital and you don't get it done, we can pass it on to the next year. So we want to create a bit of consistency between the years. So then the next PPR will take this on and it'll be so just about consistency. So I'll write on the SRC page and there's
probably the rector election.
yes. We have the rector elections coming up. So we're trying to get dates set out by December, but nominations are actually opening next week. So if you'd like to nominate somebody, there'll be stuff on the website or you can get more information from myself. Or if you've got friends, if you've got any ideas of who you want to nominate or how to get in touch with people, really encourage you to nominate pretty much anybody for anybody voting for them. We want to get a good sort of, competition, or we want to get like a big sort of, election going
We
this
want a
year.
few candidates because previously it wasn't contested. So does everyone know what the rector is? No? Great, so the rector is Brian Cox. They're elected by students and they sit on court. So they are part of making influential decisions. So
They're also part of the SRC as well. So they work for students, they want to lobby the court at the university, anything that students need on big issues. And they are representatives not only in an internal scale working with the university executive group, but also on an international scale as well. So I'm sure you've heard that, what was his name? Edward Snowden is the rector for Glasgow University. So, anything's possible if you just
Can I just say, you want somebody who's going to be able to actually do something for the university, because no offence to Glasgow, even now me and Leah were speaking to Glasgow SABs last week at Northern Services.
can't do much from Moscow.
he Skype, Edward Snowden Skypes in once a year, and that's about it. Whereas Brian Cox, okay, he's not perfect, but he has come at least 5 times a year to talk to students and so on and so forth. So when making these decisions, you need to pick to someone who can commit in terms of time and commit on that type of basis.
But yeah, so if you want any more information, I'm going to post on the SRC Council page hopefully next week with a link to the website, so all the information's there. And we're meeting with Ian Kennedy, the previous president, to talk about recollections. Neil, unfortunately, is in quite ill and is not able to work with us at the moment, but yeah, we'll hopefully get stuff out. It's quite exciting. It's a great opportunity, and I really encourage all of you to get involved and to either nominate or vote or support a nomination. But yeah, any questions? Happy to answer them.
So we've got 2 mornings, so probably 2 questions in the contract later.
Yes, I would.
Yep. So they say Fridays are dead, but there's an event this Friday that I think you'll all enjoy. Over in the square, Women in Politics. It's going to be a big panel debate with 2 female academics, 2 female politicians, and 1 of our own female student. So come along. Leia's going to do a speech at the start, so that might be worth coming along for anyway. And it will be worthwhile. It's going to be a really good debate.
Who's it speaking?
So we've got Jenny Mara, Councillor Bari, do we have Edzia Calvario from the Politics Department, Dr. Annie Notario is chairing it, and then Stein. I'm from Newcastle, I'm not very good with names. Stina is the student who's on the panel. And you can ask questions. Look at that. I hear it needs full. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and then there's another one as well. That's a quick thing. So building on that, obviously we're doing these whole political lectures. This is the second one. The third one that we're doing is we've been able to get Scottish political leaders to come to a leaders debate in January. So that includes Nicola Sturgeon, so the First Minister, and all the other mainstream parties who have seats in Holyrood at the moment. So SNP, correct me if I'm wrong, SNP, Labour, Conservative, Green and Liberals are all coming. So we'll be looking for volunteers to help with the event. So I'll probably be asking you guys, we're trying to get this planned as much as possible in advance, just because we shut down for 2 weeks and then we open back up and we don't want to be sort of catching up. So I'll be asking for people who want to help out on the night and helping promote it throughout the school as well. Because we want to get a decent attendance. I think it will naturally be well attended because it's the leaders, it's political leaders, it's quite high profile. But we want to make it as student-led as much as possible. The second thing, if I may.
Can we go to the
Yep.
On the events sort of side, Magdalene's got its 50th issue coming out on Friday, so next Tuesday we've got a party in the Air Bar to celebrate, 7 o'clock till 10. We booked the Dundee University Big Band, so 16-piece brass band playing. The cocktails, dress up. The last one was really successful, it was really fun, so if you are free on Tuesday, you should come along and bring people. Yeah, that'll be good. That's all I have to say.
The second thing is, at the most recent university court, there was a lot of discussion about zero tolerance and sexual harassment on campus. It was in response to an article that went into the Saturday Times, I think, not Sunday Times, Saturday Times, by a Dundee student who was commenting on about the culture within Dundee. I pushed for a joint statement to be made between DUSA and university on its stance on zero tolerance. DUSA has its own policy on zero tolerance, and we're going to sort of hash it out from that. But any SRC councillor wants to be part of, will be described as a fluid working group on this issue. Please come, give me a message, come speak to me after this, and we'll work on it from that. It's a real good chance to actually get the university on board on something that is a huge issue, not only within DUSA, but actually within Scotland and the UK.
Sorry, last thing, can I speak to Greg or Liam and Omar after you? You're not in trouble, it's fine. Not yet.